Good morning. Happy Friday. Where's my co-host? Move this out of the way over here. So just for fun, while waiting for Thomas to join, I played hooky yesterday. My dad came out and he's been out here in a while, and we drove around town, and oh my God, it's crazy. Went into Mangrove Point, checked out the new D.R. Horton homes starting in the 400s, basically a starter home. What a model, though. 2,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. Beautiful. And just building like crazy. And she had a really cool presentation, this big 5-foot TV on the wall, touchscreen. And she was giving my dad the pitch, telling him how Apollo Beach is the center of the world. And it was kind of cool because you go around the Bay Area and it really looked like we were. So that's kind of cool. Then we jumped out and went to over Paseo Alomar, which is the new road of Apollo Beach Boulevard, goes over the interstate, took that to River One, went down and saw the South Shore Lagoon, South Shore Bay, the big lagoon 5-acre pool. I've never seen that. That was cool as all get out. And we didn't look at any models there. Then what else did we do? I went to Berry Bay, which is in the D.R. Horton place just down the street. Went over to Lake Toscano, which I've been to in a long time. My goodness, those places are gorgeous. And the roads were moving and traffic was cool. It was really a neat thing. So I encourage you guys to get out there. I'm going to PQRST. There it is. And see what's happening in the real world. It's like, wow, I got to do more of this. And I'm telling you right now, your commissions are pretty much guaranteed now with these builders. They're honoring us. Panelist, make a co-host. Sorry, I was checking my things here. Yeah, so get really familiar with this new home construction stuff, because it's going to carry us through, because people are not selling their houses as much as they normally would just to move around because they can't give up the low interest rates. And these builders are buying down rates and they are just building a nice quality product. So that's where a lot of our business is going to come from. So you're going to see a lot of things. I think Chris has organized something with D.R. Horton on October 10th in Plant City, of all places. But that's because that's where affordable housing is, number one. But most important, they've got all their floor plans in one place, so we can get to know everything. So as you're talking to customers, you can call D.R. Horton's helpline and find out what community those plans are being built. Good morning, Mr. Simmons. How are you today?
Good morning. How are you?
Excellent. Excellent. So yesterday we planned a little meeting for today, and we're going to talk about setting proper expectations when we're writing contracts. And I want to bring that into 2 more things, because I've got what I would like to consider 3 must-dos before you put a house on the market. And I want to cover the listing agreement today too, because there's a lot of things in the listing agreement that I just think we've talked about in a long time. And I think we should probably at least touch on that. So where would you like to start?
Well, I think we mentioned about something you didn't want to mandate, but in regards to the 4-point inspection and things like that, just bringing awareness to the seller about things that may occur that maybe we need to get in front of.
Yep. Well, good. There's 4 things I wrote down, and the 5th one was a summary, and it's called, I wrote down, having empathy for the seller to understand what the buyer is going through. You know, so let's start with, well, I'll give you a real life example. My daughter Jessica just bought a house in Tampa, and the inspector missed a lot of stuff. First thing we found out after the inspection period is over and after the house was closed, they used 1/4-inch plywood on the roof. That's a no-no. You use 1/2-inch plywood on roofs. So her roof bid was $12,000 to put a new roof on it, but it got an extra $4,000 charge because they had to redeck the whole roof. Not the whole roof, but most of it, right? So what does that do to a buyer? It crushes them. It crushes their budget. It crushes their confidence in the seller. And if that's the problem, what else did I not see? This is a 1957 house. So what happens with galvanized pipes that are in the ground for 60 years?
Replace.
Yeah. So they had a plumber come out and scope it, and the lines, there was the original house and an add-on. And so with scope both lines, and both of them have been crushed by tree roots, because tree roots grow and they're strong. And when they put pressure on weak pipes, it's a problem. So they got to cut out and redig and redo the, now thank God the pipes weren't bad under the slab, but they were bad in the yard.
What did you say? It was like 40K?
I don't know the number on that one, but it's
Okay.
not cheap. It's a lot. Right. And then AC is good. Oh, and they found mold.
So the inspector missed the mold? Where was the mold at?
Inside.
Damn.
They pulled baseboards off and it's black behind there. And the AC ducts were moldy. Just a lot of stuff, right? So having that empathy for a buyer and educating them on the process of, look, this is serious business, right? When you're buying a used car, you take it to a mechanic you trust and you tell them to check it out, right?
Correct.
So the most important thing for us is finding, and I'm not going to name inspectors here, but find an inspector you trust. And when they say, you know what, this is beyond my expertise, you better call a plumber, you call a plumber, right? Because they have more capacity to do the testing that you need to do. A home inspector is a home inspector. A plumber is an expert, right? So the plumber has the equipment to go do that. The home inspector doesn't always have that equipment to do that, and they're not licensed to be a plumber. So
just to use your example on a used car, I mean, going to your guy to go look at it, but also buying a certified pre-owned car where they have
exactly.
100-point checklist of things that need to go over. So that in turn comes back to what we talked about previously about the pre-inspection homes, the pre-love homes, right?
Yep.
Get in front of it. So this way we can, and not only does it make the seller feel great because they know what's wrong, they can get in front of it and fix it, but also it puts the buyer at peace as well. But, you know, like you said, we're not going to catch everything, but at the end of the day, at least there was some effort put towards it.
What's considered one of those stressful things in life situations? Buying and selling a home.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
Buying and selling a home.
Yeah,
so the seller wants everything to go right. They don't want a problem after closing.
Correct.
They don't want closing to be missed.
Right.
And the buyer doesn't want any problems either. And we're the ones who have to get involved in that because we're the expert, right? So here's what, if I were king, I always like this statement. If I were king, I would tell the listings team, do not upload a listing until it has, now, of course, there's exceptions. It's a brand new home, no. But a 4-point inspection, what does 4-point cover? HVAC, pretty critical system.
Right.
What plumbing, electrical, roof.
Yep, roof. Yep.
So if those 4 systems are checked out good and they test fine, you're probably going to be all right. Everything else is
more cosmetic.
Yeah. But now, what are the changes going on with the insurance company around these things?
Oh, yeah, with flood insurance. Yeah.
Not just flood insurance, just regular hazard. If your water heater is more than 5 or 10 years old, they're going to want a new one or they're not going to insure you. Sure. If your AC is more than 5 or 10 years old, they're probably going to want a new one. Right. And which is silly, but he who has the gold makes the rules. You know, I got 19 years out of my last set of air conditioners. Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with empathy, and I think, well, 2 parts. Property taxes. You and I talked about this yesterday, right?
Yep.
Your house was $8,000. People bought your house for paying $22,000.
Yeah, it was 12,000, but now 22. Right. Yep.
12 to 22.
Yeah, 10,000.
That's a big ass number.
Yeah, not big time.
So if we don't remind the seller, hey, just so you know, have a little empathy for the buyer. You know, you enjoyed a $12,000 a year income tax or a property tax. They're paying $22,000 a year.
Correct. Yeah, you're paying 8,000. That's 22. Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's important that we start judging on emotions. The market is complex and complicated, and it's changing a lot. Yeah, Lauren said she's got the situation right now. The property that should never have been on the market offering VA or FHA. Right.
Sure.
Right. It's not going to cover it.
Cover it. The condition of it, the inspection. Correct. Yep.
So you have 2 options: either fix it or disclose it, and either one of those is fine. If I disclose it, it just tells me, hey, you're not dealing with a conventional buyer. You're not going to get an FHA or VA buyer in this house.
But that comes right down to the listing agent, correct? Because the listing agent should know that what type of financing is for that particular home.
Yeah, and when you check out the MLS profile sheet, you say what type of financing is permitted.
Absolutely.
And as an agent, we should be looking at that and not wasting our buyers' time showing houses unless they want to do a home renovation loan.
Correct.
So all these little things we have rolling around in our heads, but we got to be able to pull them up, right? Peter Kafik used to talk about like sorting clothes in a dryer. Everything's tumbling around in there, and it's hard to find the one sock that matches the other one, right? But if you know where to go, you know where to go, right? So if you get into that situation, you got a buyer like that, you could do an FHA 203K renovation loan. And then you still get the low down payment and you get to fix up the house the way you want it. It's a bigger process, takes more time.
Sure.
But it can be done. So, and then insurance. We talked about hazard insurance and flood insurance. I just paid my flood insurance. Where's that bill? I don't know if you saw yours yet.
No, I haven't. But I'm in the condo.
Condo, right?
Yeah.
But there's one up too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it did. Because, hey Craig, so I moved here with 600, 700, 800. It just went to 925 HOA last month and 1200 in January.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, that's because your insurance went up.
Well, insurance went up, and they mandated that they have to have a certain amount of reserves in for condos now. They can't kick the can anymore.
That's right. And that all stemmed from that Miami case.
Correct.
What was that hotel called again?
I forget that. Yeah, the one that with the last hurricane came through.
Yeah. Sunrise Condominiums, I think it was.
Yep.
So, all right. So I would tell listings, do not put a listing on the market that says a 4-point inspection. What's that cost? About $150.
Yep.
Right. And you get a home inspector to do it. And they'll certify it and say, I've checked the roof, I've checked the plumbing, I've checked all this. I would get an insurance quote for flood and hazard.
Mm-hmm.
It's a deal killer, right? And the contract has a 20-day out for flood insurance. So if the buyer's smart, they're going to get a quote anyway. So if they're going to get a quote anyway, might as well tell them what it's going to be. And then if you get smart, good.
No, I agree. And also with the taxes being reassessed, that's something that can be very crucial to them getting qualified because because their DTI is going to change with the increase.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're borderline, that could be a major problem.
Yeah. So how do you find out what the taxes are going to be?
You can go to the
county top property appraiser's office.
Exactly, the appraiser office.
So you just go in there, you type in the address, you type in the purchase price, it's going to spit you a number and say this is what your taxes are going to be.
Correct. And the lender should be there too. Correct.
The lender should do that.
It should do that.
Well, let's talk about when they don't do that, because this really sucks.
Yes.
So they'll take it off the seller's property tax and they'll qualify the buyer based on that because the loan officer wants to get paid. They want to do the loan, right? So they start escrowing their property tax payment every month. Let's say it's $500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then the new tax bill comes out. I just got my trim notice. It's right here.
Yep.
New bill comes out. Mine, what's mine do? Mine goes up. If the change is made. Oh, this is my other house. This house is going from $5,300 to $5,700. So it's going to $400.
Right.
Sammy's house. I haven't got this one yet. But this one's homesteaded, so it can't go up more than 3%.
Correct.
This is not. So I got lucky on that one. Only $500 a year. But let's say it jumped to, well, the house has doubled in value since I bought it. So now it's going to be reassessed at say 400,000, and now its tax is going to be more like $8,000. So it could go from 5,000 to $8,000 bucks.
Correct. Right. $3,000 increase.
So which would be almost $300 a month. I'm short. So now what the escrow company is going to do is next month, next year, they're going to charge me back the $300 I was short this month, and they're going to make my payment $800 for all of next year.
Or or you can just pay it in full to keep it the same. It's going to
but a lot of people don't have that.
Yes, this is true. Yeah, they just increase the mortgage. Yep.
Yeah. So I got a big catch up for the previous year because they didn't escrow enough, and I got to pay the right amount for the next year, and now I've got a $600 extra payment, and I didn't qualify for that.
Yeah,
that's tough.
Also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, they go borrow the money from their credit card or something, and now they're paying 18% interest on it. This cycle just goes down and down and down. And it's our job to make sure that we make them aware. So I really empathy, and I think it really is important to go.
Let's also talk about too on new construction, because new construction, when they purchase his land, when it taxes, and then it gets assessed when the home is completed. So they need to know that they need to when they get that check back, they send it back to the lender
Mhm.
because they're going to be short escrow.
That's right.
So just very important that, the agents let the buyers know with new construction when they make that purchase.
Yeah, so the rule behind that is it's status of the property on January 1. So let's say January 1, it was a vacant lot. So all of 2023 is we taxed as a vacant lot.
Correct.
Well, on status of the property on January 1, 2024, it's now a completed house.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be a $450,000 house. You plug it into the tax thing, it's a $9,000 a year tax bill. What was an $800 land tax bill, now it's a $9,000 property tax bill. They're screwed.
Ooh.
And the loan officer really needs to budget that. So it's a 450 house. Just the property appraiser's office, type in the 450 house, it'll spit you a number, and it's going to be $7,000 to $9,000. So if you're escrowing for that right now, it's a heartache, because I've had people crying over that in my office saying, "What am I supposed to do?" And that's not right. So these are the setting the expectations and being a good agent.
Correct.
I just watched a Jared James video this morning. He's talking about the big thing. Anywhere just settled a lawsuit for $83 million. Right? We didn't plead we were guilty. We just said we're settling. And Remax just settled their claim for $55 million, which point blank tells you Anywhere is bigger than Remax. So Berkshire Hathaway has not made a decision yet. NAR has not made a decision yet. I don't know what it's going to be, but basically what they're saying is that it's unfair for us as real estate people to force a seller to pay a buyer's agent's commission. Okay, so that's why I want to cover our listing agreement today, show you how we do it. And we have leadership and top agent a week and a half from now. And I'm hoping they're going to talk about this. They can't throw out $83 million and not talk about it.
Sure.
Because all they said is we're going to change our business practices. Right. So it means we're not going to make a seller. Now, the shock in that is it's not the seller's best interest to not pay a buyer broker.
No, it's not.
I mean, look at the home builders. I just look at the professional marketing of home builders, and what do? They pay realtors.
They pay realtors, right? And they pay them sometimes very well, and they 4 or 5 homes they sell, they get an increase in their commission. I mean, they make it very attractive in some ways.
Yep. Okay. Your legal mind, business decision due to cost of litigation. Oh, of course, but still $83 million.
What's that?
Yeah. No, Kat was saying that they made a business decision due to cost of litigation. Yeah, and the fear of losing. And what they also did too, and don't take this lightly, they what's the word? They indemnified us as agents and as brokers too. So these two lawsuits, yes, they defended us. So that their settlement is they can't come after us as individual agents or brokers, which is really good. Because this was going to be $4 billion, I think was the class action size. Wow. Because they were going to go back to everybody in the last period of time that a seller paid a buyer's broker, and they're going to have us rebate them all that money. So 83 million was a bargain compared to our market share of a $4.3 billion case.
This is true.
Yeah, this is not for the faint of heart. We're in a big business, and I think we have to start acting better on these parts so we avoid this. Because once these little things happen like this, somebody else can get a good idea and say, hey, why don't we do a class action suit too? And then beginning to end.
Yeah, what does she say?
The experts in the case for the plaintiffs are economic bean counters. It seems to be twisting the market analysis. Yeah. But think about it. How many commissions are paid? And if they make their point and they win and they get a judge that likes their side, every buyer broker commission that a seller paid could be challenged. We'd have to give it back.
That would be brokers would just go out of business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
And so the agents.
Yeah.
If you had to give back all your buyer agent commissions,
forget about it.
That money's bye-bye.
Sayonara.
All right. So just repeating this, and we'll stop on this point. A 4-point inspection before it hits the market. Right?
Correct.
And then we tell the seller with empathy, look, this is what a buyer's going to have to go through. We're going to either disclose it to them so they know what they need to do, or we're going to fix it. And when you fix it, the house is worth more. And don't be afraid of that. Right? If I put a new roof on the house is worth more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I'm in a position to do that. If I'm not, then I need to lower the price of the house.
Sure.
Because it's not worth as much.
Sure.
Right?
And speaking of, you and I talked about the as is and the FAR bar. Now you don't see agents requesting as is anymore when it comes to the contracts. So we need to do a better job at explaining the as is when we're talking with our buyers.
100%.
You know, because we can avoid a whole lot. It's like, one, do we want to hold their feet to the fire, or do, you know what, we find issues that doesn't affect financing, then you're just going to have to deal with it. Is that your choice, right? And then
you've heard me say it 1,000 times.
Right.
If you give me an as-is contract,
mm-hmm.
I'm deciding that on accepting it or not accepting it based on that condition. It's as is.
Correct.
If you want me to make repairs, had I known this, I wouldn't have done that. Had I known you wanted repairs, I wouldn't have accepted $375.
Correct.
All right. I would have wanted $400 because now I got to make repairs. That's the way I would explain it. That's what as is means. You don't get anything. You don't have to buy the house either.
Right.
You can cancel.
Correct.
And that's what I tell them to do. No, cancel. Come back to me a new offer. If you want repairs, then tell me how much repairs you want. I'll add it to the price.
There you go.
All right. So 4-point AC, plumbing, roof, and electric. Now, Jessica's house also had cloth wiring.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's the age of it, you know?
Yeah. But that's not acceptable for insurance companies today.
No, not at all.
Right. So cloth wires have a better tendency to catch on fire and cause a fire.
Absolutely.
So you check those 4 things out and you walk in with your eyes wide open and make it easy. Because honestly, if the buyer is any good or their agent's any good, they're going to do this anyway. So I don't like surprises.
Right. But Jessica did do a 4-point, yes?
Oh, yeah. No, she knew what she was going to do.
Okay, gotcha.
Not all of these things were surprises, but some of them were.
Fair enough.
The intensity was more than she thought. Like the mold was.
Sure. Behind the base. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
It's cheaper just to rip up 4 feet of drywall than to mess around with cutting it and trying to make it smooth. And
this is true. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It took a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So 4-point handled, done up front, have a discussion. And this means, somebody calls you up and says, I want to sell my house, and you come over and list it today and put it on the market tomorrow. No, this is a process we need to go through, right? And they need to clean up. I spent all day at Jessica's place on Saturday, just literally picking up stuff that was all over the yard. Little solar lights and electric lights for landscape lighting from 25 years ago that were rotted and rusted through. And we have a big pile of trash, stuff like that.
Yep. Can expect.
Yeah, you can. You have the right to investigate the house, but you have to put it back into its original condition.
Sure.
So if he pulls off the baseboard, he needs to put it back on and caulk it and make sure it's not bruised and damaged. And so most people don't do that. And the home inspector's contract limits it to visually easy to be seen. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if you've got,
I'm sorry.
Well, if you have doubt, then you call a mold remediation company.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. I would much rather pay a couple $100 to have the mold tested in the house before I buy it than after I buy it and find out it's a much bigger problem than it was.
It's very, absolutely.
Yeah, just bought the house for the location. Exactly. Yeah, it's a great corner lot with beautiful trees. It is. And the house will be Martha Stewart ready when she's done with it. So that'll work. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about insurance. I like Florida Best Quote. They're good friends of ours. They sponsor our events, but mostly they've got a bunch of carriers, and they just brought 3 more carriers in. So the more carriers you have, the more options you have, right? Awareness, flexibility, options, and power. So you've got to find an insurance agency, not like a State Farm, not to put State Farm down, but State Farm sells State Farm policies.
Correct.
It's all they sell, and they're a great company, but they don't have as many options as a brokerage house that has more. So you get an insurance quote, right, for the hazard insurance on the house, and you tell them the truth. This is the AC, this is the roof, here's the 4-point inspection insurance person, and they'll give you a quote. And then you're going to put that on the MLS attachments and you're going to show them what the insurance is going to be. Right. And it's do a little shopping. Call the seller's current policy and see if they'll extend that or assume that. That'd be great. And then property taxes, you said, here's what the property taxes will likely be. And that sounds like overkill, and maybe I'm treating people like babies, but this is a complicated thing. Who's the biggest? Oh yeah, Florida West is fast to respond. Lindsay is who I use all the time. What's the biggest population of home buyers coming out now? Millennials, and they've never bought before.
Yep.
Yeah. And Sammy, if you're listening, I mean, when Sammy first moved out on her own, I asked her to mail me something. She didn't know how to fill out an envelope. They never taught that in school when she went to school. An envelope? Weird. Yeah, return address in the corner, stamp over here, address here. I don't know how to do that. These millennials don't know all this stuff that we're doing. Now, hopefully their parents are going to be involved and help them through some of this process. But how good are you going to look as the agent taking care of that new home buyer, first-time home buyer, teaching them all this stuff?
What did they say about the millennials that's under 30 years of age, that their parents are going to be the one to more likely give them a gift?
Yeah.
To purchase? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's fine.
Yep.
If they are in a position to do that. And then flood insurance, I'm always going to talk about flood insurance because if you have a FEMA policy, it's assumable. And FEMA's the only one you're going to get if you are below floodplain, and you're going to get hosed.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to get it. Now, us that are post-firm, firm is an acronym for the flood insurance rate map. If you're post-firm, there's third-party carriers that will write you, and they are substantially less expensive. But that's if you're post-firm. So when you, as the agent, as a listing agent, are working with the seller, get quotes. I think I told you mine was $1,100 last year. It's going to be $1,400 this year. So it went up that 18%. But I've got a third-party carrier that is $650 a year. But my insurance woman, Liz at East Bay, she says, Craig, I don't want you to do that yet because your FEMA policy is assumable. And we don't know if Neptune's going to be around next year or the year after that. Because once you get rid of them, if I lose FEMA and then I go back to FEMA, I'm going back at actuarial rate.
You're not grandfathered in.
And I can't pass it along to my buyer if I were to sell my house. So there's always a risk involved in that. But it's tempting at this point. So paying $1,400, I could be paying $695.
Right.
Right. But once I make that pull, that switch, I'm done. But that's why they need counseling through all this stuff.
Yeah, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a trusted advisor, so.
Yes. And that's where we come in. That's where you have to have that trusted advisor. And if they've got their own, that's fine too. David, your hand is raised. Is that intentional? Do you want me to let chat in if you want me to give you a microphone or something? Cool. All right. It came to my attention also, to talk about contracts. We charge a transaction fee. Oh, I'd like to see that. We'll get that actually. Thank you. We charge a transaction fee. All right. Transaction fees are 100% legal, but they have to be disclosed. Right. So when you're in the purchase and sale contract under additional terms, there's a little button up there that says add clauses. And we have a clause that says, you know, buyer and seller agree that there's a $325 transaction fee, right? That'll be charged to the party we represent. So you have to make sure you put that in that clause. So we make the disclosure so we can claim it. And if you don't disclose it and collect it, then we charge you, right? All the stuff in the world doesn't go around for free. There's a lot of staff that does a lot of stuff for us. And, you know, you guys get the lion's share of the commission. So that's a flat fee that goes straight to the brokers. It defers a lot of our cost, but you got to make sure you do it. I'll show you in there. But I'm going to go look at the listing agreement right now. And what did Angelique just say?
The listing agreement is there.
Oh, it's in there already. Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Check out the seller FAQs in .loop and in the listing packages, basically interviewing the seller as to all the things about the property. Be prepared. The agents are being asked all these questions, so know upfront what it is. I like it. And the buyer closing cost estimate is there too. It's disclosed on that as well. All right, I'm gonna share your screen.
Yeah, we did that about a year or two ago with that drop down box for the 325.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm going to go basic, share my screen. I guess I want. Screen do I want? Inbox. Okay. Now go to dot loop. Okay, I can close this. Close this. All right. So I'm in dot loop. I'm in my own personal one, not the company one. I'm going to move this bar over here and I'm going to go to templates. And I'm going to go to listings.
Kathleen. Sure. She said this is about notice, especially if we get audited.
Yeah. What did she call it? FAQ? Seller?
Yeah, frequent asked questions. It's in the listing packages, basically interviewing the seller to all the things about the property. Be prepared. The agents are being.
Sharing my screen? Are you seeing my dot loop?
Yeah, I see it.
So I typed in seller FAQ there. It popped up here.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I remember this one.
Yeah.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Let's just hit it. Seller FAQs, things we want to make sure the buyer is aware of. Property bill, taxes last year's bill. There,
Mhm.
I might want to add forecasted this year.
Yep.
Survey, elevation certificate if you have one. Who's your primary mortgage holder, secondary mortgage holder if you have one. Yeah. I have keys to my house now because I got new doors and windows, but I didn't have keys to my house.
Yeah, because a lot of people, they just have that new lock, you know, with the coded lock. Yeah.
Door keys, garage door openers, gated community openers, all these little things that, you know, it's a lot to figure out when you're moving.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're a millennial and haven't really lived on your own before. Insurance costs, flood insurance costs, everything we talk about. This is a great question. A lot of termite companies give you warranties if you've had termite treatment, and that's nice. So that warranty will pass along to the new owner. So that's a great thing to do. And this is where I'd be marketing too. Termite treatment conveys. Home warranty. Did you do one? Should you do one up front? Or use a 4-point in that case? How's the mailbox system work?
Right. Is there a key? Yeah.
How does your mailbox work at Bellasoul?
Yeah, there's a key, and you have to go down to the bottom floor. That's where it's located in the building. Yep.
Yeah, so the buyer didn't know that.
Trust me, I was one of them.
Pets and restrictions, you know, you have a dog bigger than 85 pounds or something. A list of, you know, who's did a great job with this. I was looking at a listing of Brian and Nancy's, and this house was literally, I don't think anything's original. I think the popcorn ceiling has been everything. There's nothing original in this house. And
he has popcorn ceilings in it?
No. I mean, no, everything's new.
Everything's new. Okay, gotcha.
And but he had, I would say it's 2 full pages typewritten of all the recent improvements in the house.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's really a nice thing to do. And that's posting them. List items included in the sale, list items excluded in the sale. Just a good point. Now, this is not a mandatory part of the contract or anything. This is just a checklist for you.
That's really good about excluded, you know, because it could be the washer, dryer. It could be, you know, the patio furniture where people just think sometimes it's included because you didn't say it. They just assume, you know. So those things, those things are very important to put down.
All the stuff about your HOA. Mine is ruled in Nazi Germany. I've been in the minutes a lot, Thomas, lately.
One more time.
I've been in the minutes a lot lately. They're not happy with me.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you have.
most recently, this just pisses me off. I was having my cars detailed, and the one detailer's car broke, and he had to get it towed. So he called a tow truck. The tow truck came. The guard stopped him, called me to allow him in, which I did. But the tow truck driver was pissed off. He had to stop and get permission. So he threw some piece of trash from his car on the outside of his truck. And the guard took offense to it. So I got a fine for $10 in the mail.
Got the
And
little red,
it's not the $10. It just pissed me off.
the red envelope.
So I wrote them a letter back, and I got intercepted by one of the board members I see in the morning, and he says, "Craig, I'll take care of that for you."
Yeah, it's just the principle. I get it.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
twice removed. It's not my vendor. Anyway, this is important stuff. And what do we like to talk about here? Which isn't listed here.
Yep, a condo association.
Yeah, man, get those minutes out there. When you find out Craig Beggins lives here, you're not gonna be happy because he gets fines all the time, which means you could get fines all the time, right? Neighborhood website, you might. That's really helpful too. I go to my website all the time, symphonyhouse.com. I got to log in though, so that's not going to help them. But you can get the condo dues and stuff like that, or condo docs there in many cases. Copy of homeowners or condo association declarations, covenants, deed restrictions provided. Do you have them? It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
I'm going to put up a new subdivision at the end of this year, and I will take the deed restrictions and I will summarize them into a 1 or 2 page document, just highlighting the general rules, and then the real set as well. But that's just when I was farming, working in this neighborhood. I always get somebody, here's a cheat sheet on what you can and can't do, because there's a lot of rules. You can have 2 queen palms in the front yard between the sidewalk and the street. There's all these little rules you have to come up with and do. Are there any special assessments here now? That's part of the contract too. CDD, explain what that is. People don't know, guys, from other states. Florida just became CDD rampant.
Big time.
And but people from other states don't understand it. And please don't venture an opinion. I'll say this one again. Thomas, you've heard me say this before. A CDD, you're a developer, I'm a developer.
Yep.
You have 400 acres of property, I have 400 acres of property. You are paying cash for your roads and your amenities and your street lights and all the stuff that make it pretty. I'm going to borrow money from the state and use that borrowed money to do the same thing. You were the same road plan, same street lights, same everything. Your 400 acres is yours. My 400 acres is mine, but I didn't spend as much money on mine than you did. So I can sell my land cheaper than you can sell your land.
Yep.
But my buyer is going to have to pay monthly through his non-ad valorem tax bill. So he's really paying the same thing. It's just cheaper up front.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So that's why you can get into a really nice, fancy neighborhood, because most developers can't afford to put the cash up front to make it all right.
Right.
And that's why the Lennars and the D.R. Hortons, everything they do now is CDD. But you do have to qualify for it. So it's something they need to know about. But don't ever say they're bad, because they're not. They're just a different way of financing. Right. So let's say your house, we're going to build the same house too. Same 2,400 square foot, four bedroom, 3-bath house. Yours might be 500,000. Mine might be 450.
Correct.
But it's going to have a $500 a month CDD fee, which is going to bump it right up to I got to qualify for 500.
Correct. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's how it works.
And you can't make light of this one. Symphony House just tried to flip in here.
You said a year.
The house for a year before you can rent it. So I'm on a crusade with that one, because that means no investors will buy in here at all. And a lot of people buy in the house now for a couple of years from now when they retire and they want to rent it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I fought that one, but that's it. Pool and spa. There are no saltwater pools, people. They'll salt chlorinated pools.
Well, chlorinated.
Right? They use salt in the water, and the salt runs through an exchanger, and that exchanger salt is sodium chloride, NaCl, Cl, chlorine. So it's a salt chlorinated pool. It uses salt to create the chlorine, so you don't have that stinky chlorine smell on you.
Yes, soft on the skin too.
Yeah. What type of appliances? What are the age of your appliances? I redid my house in 2015. Yeah, that was 8 years ago.
Yep.
Holy shit. That's not a new refrigerator anymore. It was brand new 8 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when you redid your kitchen. Yeah.
Yep. That was 8 years ago.
Wow, time flies.
HVAC, I put new HVACs in 2019. This is they're 4 years old already. Jeez. Time flies when you're having fun. Lawn irrigation system.
I like that too, is the lawn service. I mean, that could be something that you could put a referral next to if you need it.
Hey, that's one of the things I just learned about. And I talked about it a couple weeks ago. When we're making our 12 connections a day that we agreed to do this week, you talk to your lawn man and say, hey, I mean, if I was going to sell my house, might I tell my lawn man I'm going to sell my house? Hey, Lupe, would you do some extra stuff? Get some flowers in the beds, redo the mulch. I'm gonna get this house on the market in the near future.
Right.
Now, what does Lupe know?
Everyone.
Yeah. And he knows that I'm going to sell my house.
Correct.
And he could recommend a realtor to me. And then I can in turn say, hey, I'm going to pass your name along to my buyer because he does a damn good job in my yard.
Yeah, he does.
So I'm sure they'd like to keep the same guy rather than not knowing. Do you have a well? Is an irrigation well? Is it a well for water? Big things. Windows. I don't know. Roof.
Also, too, with the well also can be in Symphony House. You don't have one, but you can put one there. So that's an option. Yeah.
About $5,000 now.
Correct. Yeah. Wow.
My water bill is $69 a month.
Yeah.
And I got a big yard, but I water with the irrigation well, not with the city water.
Yeah, because when I was there, it was $3,000 to put the well. $5,000.
Oh, really? That's what I heard. Oh. Yeah, that's a nice feature.
Yeah, it is.
Now, just a note on wells. Sometimes they're shared, right? And I've gotten into this a lot in here because we have a lot of neighbors. There was $3,000 at the time to put a well in for $3,000. You pay $1,500, I pay $1,500, but the well goes on one of our properties.
Gotcha.
So you got to grant a well pump use easement to the neighbor, and that should be recorded so it goes with the property.
Gotcha.
If not, if Bob gets in a fight with Paul, screw you. He cuts the water line to Paul's house. And now what's he going to do? He's trespassing. He tries to put it back on.
Right.
So those things should be done. And I've gone after the fact and had well pump use agreements created and recorded. Right. Especially if you're listing the house that is the
main provider.
Not the main one. The guy who's using the neighbor's well.
Off the okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to protect that house to make sure that, because we had just had it happen in here the other day.
Really?
Absolutely not. Nope. My well, you can't have it. That was my agreement with my neighbor. It's not my agreement with you. Kind of a shitty thing to do, but it was. I had a shared well with my neighbor on Bunker View, and in our agreement, they agreed to pay me $100 a year because it was using my electricity. So, oh, sir, I don't know if we ever collected it, but it was in there. Windows, roof, electrical, gas.
Gas.
Is it natural gas? Is it liquid propane gas? How big is your tank?
Sure.
Yeah. I have a 150-gallon tank in my yard.
Yeah.
Plumbing, water, sewer, all that type of stuff to do it. Internet and cable. Who do you use? Don't. Water softener.
And that one is water softener is key because some water softeners don't convey. So that's something, it's attached too. We got to make sure that we disclose that if you want to take it or not.
Yep. Here it is. Owned or owned, yes or no?
Yeah. Because
in the contract itself, it says all owned appliances. So
right.
It's very clear. This is just nice. What is your trash day? I mean, you're going to meet your neighbors and figure it out when they all put the trash out the same day. Solar panels are a big one. I think Chris covered this the other day.
That's a big one.
Yeah. If you got those PACE loans, and where do you find it? In the non-ad valorem section.
So I got one for you. We had an agent who was a listing agent. The investor purchased a home, but the investor said that they would not pay for the solar panels. They didn't want no transfer of warranty or anything like that. But to make a long story short, the listing agent, the seller actually, for whatever reason, she was being debited every month, but for some reason she thought she owned it. Craig, Do you know she sold that home and she's now still paying for the solar panels?
That's horrible.
Isn't it horrible?
Hmm.
30 years old, she was just assuming that it was just for the electricity, but not for the actual panels.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
terrible.
shysters out there for sure.
Oh yes, they are.
Victor says, is it okay to share this checklist publicly for marketing? You know, my mom just asked a question here too. Oh no, Celeste. Be careful about private access. So if you're going to really complete this and, you know, give like the gate codes and stuff, I guess it really doesn't ask for any of that. Use your smarts. If it's something private information shouldn't be shared, then don't share it or leave that part blank. But I would put it as an MLS attachment because that's for the agents to see. The public can't really get to that.
Also, it could be something that could be disclosed later after they close in regards to the gates, codes, and stuff of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leave it blank if you think it'd be bad. But this is a great tool. This is way more comprehensive than what I was talking about. So cheers.
I think perfect. Yeah. It's all on one document too, you know, so it's great.
Mouse.
Did you want to go to the contract and show the 325 the drop down?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to the listings too. So it's just good.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I got to actually start it in a loop and everything to do that.
Really?
I'll do it.
All right, you're doing a purchase agreement first. Okay.
I don't think I hit add to loop yet. It's right up here.
Yep, additional terms. Yep.
But I need to add it to a loop. I'm gonna add it to. I guess it doesn't matter. This is my personal thing anyway.
Yeah.
Now I got to go to a loop, I guess. Where are my loops? Here it is. Now it's part of a loop. All right. The additional term was right. One less than bold to none. Add clause. See that?
Yep.
Right there. It's kind of a funny looking button, but it's add clause and transaction fee, safety, storage, and security. Do we do anything for safety, storage, and security? Hell yeah, we do.
We do, yeah.
Our safety is .loop, which we pay monthly for every one of our licensees, whether you do business or not. Our safety and security is your @C21BE email account. We pay for that for every agent, whether you like it or not. It's got two-step verification. We are not going to have the fraud attempts that most people do. And that costs money. Take 600 agents times, I think the Gmail is $12 a month. So $12 a month times 6, that's $7,200 a month, just in email charges. So I have no problem defending this. So you just say, yes, I want it. And now some people, buyer only transaction fee. Sometimes it's buyer and seller, or it says buyer and or seller. And some sellers can't understand and or means it's only relevant if it's and. but they don't like it. So you could choose buyer only if you wanted to. Okay. And then, so that's all you would do is just click this and add it to. And that's one clause that puts it in there for you. And that's it. So make sure you do this on every single transaction that you touch where you're writing the offer. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to add another clause.
I basically just tell them the $325 admin fee, make sure I dot all the T's are crossed, everything's compliance. You know, I think the less that you make of it,
Yeah, it's just,
the
oh yeah,
easier,
oh yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I never talk much about it, but I want to show you one more clause that I just looked at. Oh, this is the one I like. Seller agrees to choose paramount title per paragraph 9C. Right? That's just, if you want to use paramount title, get the seller to pay for it.
Yep.
Because seller picks, seller pays.
Correct.
But then we just put in there, seller wants to use paramount title. I mean, it works a lot. Okay, and then this one is a note regarding minimum commission. I'm going to try to make this really simple for you. And this is not a clause that you would insert. Okay, this is just a note. If you want to charge the minimum commission, right, simply write the following: $3,000 on the listing commission plus 3% in the total commission line, which we'll go to next, so paragraph 8 of the listing agreement. This is no longer a need. You don't need to insert this clause. This affects listings with a selling price of less than $83,000, which really doesn't exist anymore. So forget it.
Right. That's a good thing, though.
Yes. This is a fun one to put in there. Buyer acknowledges that buyer's home inspection and inspection period is for buyer's informational purposes only. Any request for repairs, compensation, or price adjustment shall be considered a reopening of negotiations, and seller reserves the right to cancel this contract.
Wrong.
Don't screw around with me and as this contract now, I'll tell you. This contract is not contingent on an appraisal. Buyer agrees to pay the contract price regardless of the outcome of the appraisal. Right? We put these in here just so you don't have to go make shit up.
Right, exactly.
In the event the property doesn't appraise for the purchase price, buyer agrees to pay up to blank over the appraised value. Clarity, guys.
Do you have one with the escalation clause in there?
That's a separate clause, and that's in the addendum section.
Okay.
That's too long to put in this section.
Yeah.
This is really good. Closing date is extended to blank, and in consideration, buyer and seller authorized to direct the escrow agent to immediately disperse the deposit in the amount of X to seller and hold escrow agreement harmless from all loss, cost, damage. Guys, extending a closing and putting an additional deposit does not mean the seller gets it. It means the seller is entitled to it, but if the buyer gets pissy and doesn't sign off, the escrow agent ain't going to deliver it. So if you want this to stick and you want it to be painful, like if you don't close buyer, you're keeping your money, just give me the money now. If you're not willing to give it to me now, you're probably not willing to give it later. So the last deal I did, the only deal I did last year, I did two. I had a $400,000 deposit and it was at risk. And the buyer wanted a extension. And the seller's like, nope, we told you from the beginning, we're not giving you an extension. These are tough sellers. And the buyer closed early because he didn't want to lose $400,000 on deposit. So don't tell them people don't make big deposits, because they do.
Also keep in consideration too, if you're representing the buyer, make sure that you extend their financing date as well with their closing.
Loan approval period. Well, it depends. If I'm the listing agent and you want to extend the closing date, fine. But I'm keeping the loan approval date where it is.
Well, a good one would do that.
If I'm representing the seller, if I'm representing the buyer, I want to move my loan approval period and my closing date.
Absolutely. That's how you're gonna protect their escrow, you know.
Okay, where am I? Templates. Exclusive. You got to pay attention to this commercial forms. Now we have 3 listing agreements that we can choose from. We have an exclusive brokerage listing, so that's only our broker can sell it. We're not going to use that. Buyer broker, buyer broker, buyer broker, buyer broker. Right to lease. Florida exclusive right of sale listing agreement. NR. What do you think NR stands for? Non-representation. So we don't want to use that one. Exclusive right of sales agreement. SA, single agency. This is the one we use. So in our templates that we built for you, this is the ones you don't have to go search through all this stuff to find them. Which I should probably just do that. So this is ours. This is the exclusive right of sale listing agreement with a single agent for a single agent. No, there's another one too, with consent to transition to transaction broker.
Correct.
Yeah, this is not one either.
That's usually addendum.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it should be right under the commissions.
I got to find ours.
320. Oh, it's right there. Yeah, let me look at it.
I thought I went to templates.
Oh.
And I found a listing package. Contract template. Is there a different one for listings? You use this more than I do.
Yeah, I go to the listing agreement, listing package.
I don't see it.
You go to the, move it to your, yeah, okay. You don't see it? Go to all documents. And then you should see, scroll down, you should see, because it's in alphabetical order. You know? All right, here, because I see it in mine. Yeah.
I'm logged in as me.
Yeah, templates. All documents. And then what the hell? I don't have my glasses on, so forgive me.
No comment. Well, my loops. I'll find a listing about.
Well, I just did here. I'm gonna go one of my loops. I'm listing one right now. So let me see what it says here.
I just want to show them where the transaction fee is.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about the way we did the commission options, because ours is different. We modified the state form.
Exclusive right of sale listing agreement. And
Consent to why don't you share your screen then?
I'm on my I was on my iPad for Zoom. I'm on my computer for, so I would have to sign back in. I mean, so 50%.
Go to all documents and search listing agreement. That's what I thought I did. Templates, all documents, move, listing agreement.
They're not, yeah, here it is. Okay, so go to see what a commission at compensation.
Oh man, the listing agreements right here.
Yeah, you got it now. Now scroll down to number 8.
Right.
The compensation right there. See where it says purchase price plus 325 for a listing? There it is. Listing side.
So what we did, what paragraph 8 under FARBAR says is seller will pay blank commission.
Correct.
And it doesn't have any reference to what the listing broker is going to pay the cooperating broker. Right? I don't think that's right. I don't like it. I like to use it as a leverage point with the seller. Because look, we're going to charge you 3%. That's what we're going to charge.
Right.
Up to total purchase price. And as a cooperating broker commission. Right? So we're going to pay 3% of the total purchase price plus a $325 listing side commission
Yep,
and blank, pick one or blank
right. For the cooperating broker, co-broke commission.
as a cooperating co-worker commission.
Yeah,
So this new law is going to say basically what we've been doing for decades. You're paying us this and you're paying them that. So we're not forcing you to pay 3, 3.5, 4, 5, or blank. You can put 0 in there now if you want, which is going to take a major change to the MLS
big time.
because MLS is a universal offer to pay compensation.
Correct.
Right? So that's going to have to go away. So we really could, a seller could say, and we don't have to take the listing either. Seller could say 0. And then we would just market the house on the MLS, and the buyer's agent's gonna have to get their own buyer broker commission if they want to get paid, which is just a pain in the ass.
Oh, it's
But
a pass, but you could think about how many agents gonna be like, nope, for whatever reason, we can't show that home. They'll make up something.
oh yeah, it's a total disservice to the seller.
Oh, big time.
And I think I would start using the builders marketing program. You know, the builders are dummies, the professional marketers. Their houses are gorgeous. They're all taken care of. They're inspected. They're pretty. They're new, and they pay a nice commission.
Right.
Right. Because this is a marketing cost. Right. And if I'm going to, and here's the fact of it. The house is $350 and you're paying a 3% commission to me, the listing broker, and 3% to the selling broker. Right. House is $350. So now the buyer is not getting 0. So what's he going to do? He's not going to pay $350 for the house.
Correct.
Take 3% off $350. That's $10,500. He's going to offer $239,500. Right. But what it does, it squeezes the buyer now because he needs more cash to close. Or the buyer's going to write into the contract, seller agrees to pay 3% commission to buyer's agent, buyer's broker. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that part of the event.
It's gonna be very interesting because on top of that, they gotta pay their closing costs and things of that nature, and with their down payment. So
Yes.
yeah, so I foresee that be a huge issue.
Yeah. We'll solve the problem in the field, but it's coming down the pike, guys. So in summary, set the proper expectations with the sellers up front. Let's try to get as much as we can figure out to prevent problems during the marketing and closing process. And we'll start sticking up for our commissions on the buyer side coming real soon. So stay tuned. We'll cover that with y'all.
And if we just could just make sure that just make it simple, use that sellers frequently asked questions. I mean,
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's perfect.
Sellers FAQ, just type it in the search box and there it is.
There it is.
All right. We're a little bit over time, but thank you very much. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, guys.
Should be nice.
Productive weekend.